let's talk a little bit about finance, comrade leader,
Mm-hmm.
and where Jamaica is right now in managing the finances of this country. I want to start at 2011,
Okay.
where the PNP came back in office after the GLP had crashed the economy. This is a area, this is a period of time that has not been discussed. And some of us in the media are also saying that the PNP may be at fault by not bringing forward that period of time when the government speaks of what they have done with the economy. Because coming out of 2007 to 2011, we saw where the multilaterals had kicked us out of the market. The IMF would not talk to Jamaica. We couldn't get a loan. We are aware of the struggles that Dr. Peter Phillips and the most honorable Portia Simpson Miller went through. But a lot of people keep forgetting that you were an integral part of the team. Tell us about what happened and how we brought back the Jamaican economy.
Thank you for that. All right. So I think the context is very important. Bear in mind that during the period from 1989 to 2007, when the People's National Party was in government, first with Michael Manley for his second stint as Prime Minister, not his second term, because he had 2 terms in the 70s, but the second era as Prime Minister, and then PJ Patterson after that, and then briefly Portia Simpson Miller at the end. During that period, which the GLP have done their best to style in a particular way, the country really changed significantly. So the economy that we have now, which is what we call an open economy, where with our foreign exchange controls, anybody can save in US, keep them US. If they want to travel, them can go out, send money, go abroad or receive it, is the PNP do that. We used to have licensing for everything in this country. You know, if you want to import anything, you have to go to the trade board and apply for a license. Exporting, you need an export license. We deregulated much of that. So we created an environment where business could flourish, because it was at that time understood that the private sector and private initiative has to be the engine of growth. But there's a role for government, both as a regulator to make sure that the bad business practices are dealt with by the state, and also what I call a catalytic role. In other words, stepping in where opportunities exist, but the private sector will not go there because it's too challenging for them to sort of create an environment, put in the necessary investment, maybe in infrastructure, for example, that will enable private capital to come in and build on that. So that 18 years was really created the type of economy that Jamaica has. And it was successful. If you check it out, by 2007, poverty was single digit in Jamaica. When Michael Manley took office in 1989, poverty was high. I don't remember the specific number, but it was over 20%. By the end of the 18 years, it was, I think, 9% and heading down.
2007,
The unemployment was single digit as well.
Yes.
The country had built up some decent reserves, etc. But it was 18 years, and 18 years is a long time for one party to rule. And the country said, look, try the GLP now.
GDP was 113.8%.
Yeah, well, the debt to GDP ratio was in that region, correct. Now, GLP came in, there was a global financial crisis. Them couldn't manage that. They ran to the IMF. They signed an agreement with the IMF. The IMF was very generous with them and front-loaded, in other words, put a lot of resources in place up front, but on the basis of certain commitments that the government made to restructure certain things so that, you know, that the economy wouldn't get itself into this problem again that they found themselves in.
Right.
Them couldn't cross it. They abandoned the program. They didn't pass any tests. Jamaica was in the mud in terms of in the international financial community. The Bank of Jamaica had to be advancing money to the government, which it's not supposed to do, to pay bills. And they lost the election in 2011. And there was a whole Ludus business as well and all of that. So we inherited a situation where the debt of the country had gone up to 147% of GDP, where the IMF program had collapsed. Jamaica had no access to international credit. It was a crisis. We were on the precipice of going over into a very difficult time where, God knows what would have happened if we hadn't pulled it together. And the beauty of it was Portia Simpson Miller, as Prime Minister, was somebody who the people of Jamaica felt had their best interests at heart. Yes. And they were prepared to undergo a difficult period of rectification of those problems, fixing those problems with her leadership. Because them say, well, since Andrew Holness did say in 2011 election that it was bitter medicine was coming, I better them get it from Mama than from him. Right?
Yeah, because Mama give medicine easier than Papa.
You don't know. So Peter Phillips, who was a skillful finance minister, managed the situation well, and we were able to pass every test. My role at that time as Minister of Justice was I was in charge of the legislation of the government. I chaired the legislation committee of cabinet.
To restructure all these things that you just spoke to us about, moving out, getting the thing business friendly.
Exactly, and getting the tax system functioning right, so you had revenues to manage the debt problem.
So hold on, opposition leader.
Yeah.
This the old tax system was fixed then.
Yeah.
And you was in charge of that.
Absolutely.
That's why the government now can collect so much revenue.
It has been a tremendous success. What happened? We restructured the tax system. We eliminated all the million of different types of incentives, created one, what we call omnibus tax incentive that any business can get. The employer tax credit, which means if you employ people and you pay your statutories, you get that as a credit against your income tax within certain limits. We also incentivized, we gave the tax deductions for investment in research and development, which hadn't been possible before. We introduced the production incentive where people can import production inputs that you can't buy here and you need to import without paying duty. So we created the tax environment that now exists. And we also dealt with the whole revenue collection side of things to streamline that. We introduced a new tax software in the tax system to make that more efficient. And let me tell you, the thing has worked tremendously well. Because if you look at it, without imposing any new tax types, the revenue of the country has grown way ahead of inflation over the period since then. In other words, if you look, and way ahead of economic growth as well.
But why you don't tell people that you do these things? And allow Nigel Clark to be claiming glory. You should be getting royalties. Look like we have an internet freeze. We're having a conversation with the leader of opposition and the president of the People's National Party, Mark Jefferson Golden. Obviously, we internet freeze up, are we? Because I don't know. We never see that kind of load at it, but let's hope that we can get back the comrade leader, because wonderful discussion we are having. And you're hearing it because, you see, we always say it, the GLP don't talk about this period of time. Yes, we lost you when you were telling us about, when I was saying to you why you
don't man, I don't know. Everything was suddenly cut. All right, so I'm back.
Why you don't tell people, say you do these things and allow people to take the credit like them do it?
Well, first of all, I don't really like big up myself them way there, That's not me. But
this is
I
politics.
figure that we have journalists and others who, can speak the truth and tell the story as it should be told. These are not matters that are not known. These are all in the public domain. But
yes,
I guess, you are right that it's something that it's a story that we should tell more.
Of course.
And, So by the end of the 4 years that we were in government under Portia Simpson Miller, we had to bear band with belly, so to speak, by running what they call high primary surplus. In other words, we had to save money out of the budget a lot to pay down the debt and get the thing under control, because the thing was unsustainable and we were not credit worthy as a country. Right. So we had to build that back. And by the time we left office, it had gone from the 147 to 115% of GDP in 4 years.
Right.
Which was a remarkable thing. Yeah. And we put it in the law. So there are things called fiscal rules that which I was responsible for developing that legislation along with the technocrats in the Ministry of Finance.
What about EPOC?
EPOC was another construct. That was another thing that was developed at that time by Peter Phillips and others, which was essentially saying, look, the society has to make sacrifice to make this thing work. We have to get ourselves out of the hole. So make we have an agency, establish an agency or entity which will monitor how the government is doing in meeting the commitments, because you have agreed to make sacrifices, unions, banking sector, everybody.
Public sector workers.
So the government has to play its part. And its part was delivering all of the things that we had committed to do, much of which was legislation. So that was my role. My role was making sure every deadline for every piece of legislation that we'd agreed to do was met on time. And I had to work hard. And
that's what we call efficiency, because they went through.
Yeah, man, they went through. And we did some other things as well, like the super farm to make. So before then, if you're farming a business or a company, you form the company, you register the business, then you have to go to GCT, go register. You have to go to NIS, go get a number. You have to go to NHT to get a number. You have to go all over the place. It was very inefficient. We created a super farm where you apply, and when you get registered, you get your certificate of incorporation on the back, you get all those numbers. So you don't have no run-around thing. And a TCC for the first 6 months. So, that Jamaica's ranking for ease of doing business and for competitiveness improved significantly in those 4 years. So we set the thing, but it was a hard time still because we couldn't spend the money that we would have loved to spend on social investments because the situation was so dire. The country was in such a bad position. That's how we inherited it in 2011. So when the 2016 election happened and then promised the 1.5 thing, which they said they could fund without new taxes, which was a lie, because they had to impose over 30 billion of new taxes on the other share to pay for the 1.5. So that was a lie, but they won the election with a lie.
But they still keep saying, opposition leader, that it happened. They keep saying that they delivered on the 1.5.
They delivered on the 1.5 by making the taxpayer pay for it.
But because I keep saying to people, what they are not telling you is that the 1.5 was promised revenue neutral.
Correct.
And they did not deliver on that part of it, so they will say them deliver the 1.5. But it was not revenue neutral, as you said a while ago. $30 billion on the back of the Jamaican people.
Yeah, a whole raft of taxes were put in place over the first 2 years of their government. Indirect taxes mainly. So it's not in your pay slip if you're an employee, but you're paying it every time you buy anything in a supermarket or any other shop. So it had to be funded. The lie was they said it was already funded. They were going to, through elimination of waste and all kind of foolishness, which they had to fund it by putting taxes on other things to take away the taxes for the 1.5. That's what they did. That's water under the bridge. It was good politics for them.
For winning the election.
Yeah. And, so be it. So they have been able to build on a platform that they didn't construct. We construct the building. They occupy the building. And them going like it's them build it, but it's not them build it. And the truth.
What are they doing now to those gains? Because when they came in power, things looked so good that they said that they were going to grow the economy 5% in 4 years. Yeah. I remember, I think, a debate in 2020 with yourself and Nigel Clark. It was 2020 when he was asked what happened to 5 in 4 and him give no, it wasn't 2020. That was 2016.
No, man, 2020.
2020 you debate with him.
Yes.
Right. And him give some pretty argument that never really mean nothing. We are at a stage now, opposition leader, where they are saying that the economy will grow maybe 0.8%, going down to even 0.2%. That for me poses a serious problem to Jamaica. You are looking forward to winning the next election. I want to talk about election yet. But you're looking forward to win it. The PNP is poised. Everything is lining up that we are going to win it. We want to talk to you now how you're going to manage this problem. Low growth, low wage, low tech, low income economy, low production. The PNP going to be in trouble again like we were in 2011. Talk to us.